Today on Expert Showcase, we have Will Shermer joining us, talking about changing life's direction, getting ready for the journey. Will Shermer, welcome to Expert Showcase. We're so happy to have you join us today and be our guest expert. How are you doing today?
Good, Mark. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking with you again.
Excellent. Well, let's get people oriented a little bit, Will. So tell me just kind of a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm putting together a book. It's actually my second book. And this book has basically the topic that it's dealing with is making some changes in your life, partially based on some experiences that I have and based on some experiences other people have. And I'm going over different things that I've observed, different things I've yet to do myself. So it's kind of halfway my own roadmap, so to speak, into what I need to actually sit down and do to make some changes. And I've identified people along the way, positive people, negative people, and have seen how those people have had an impact on my life. I've seen how different mindsets have had an impact on my life. I've seen people who think in different directions, either very positively, very negatively, and how I've been thinking negatively and positively, and how that's affected my life. And so I'm trying to put that all together and share that. And I'm a stickler for organization, so I've got things organized in different sections so that people can look at one thing at a time and focus on that one section.
And speaking of organization, so when we were prepping for today, we're going to really focus in on three things. And so let me just do a quick rundown of those three things. So we're going to talk about the importance of having a vision for your life. We're going to talk a little bit about looking towards something higher than yourself, and then looking at that power of being positive, essentially, and do that. So let's start from the top there, Will. Tell me a little bit about the concept of having a vision for your life and how that plays out for you and in this book.
Well, having a vision is I think, very key to to basically understanding what it is you want to do, both in the long term and on a daily basis. And what I did was identified the different levels of, I don't want to say different levels of vision, but different levels of thinking. Many of us have a wish. We wish something would happen to us.
Right.
I wish I would get $1 million. Well, that's nice.
Right.
I could just sit there and wish it all day long. It ain't going to happen. No one's going to knock on the door.
If only, right? If only it were as easy as wishing, right?
Right. So wishing basically accomplishes nothing. Okay. Beyond that, you can have a dream. I'm going to dream that I'm going to get $1 million. Well, that's great. You can sit there and think about it and think about, wow, I'm going to get all this money, and I'm going to spend it on these different things, and I'm going to make my life different, and look at all I can do if this happens to me, if I get this job, if I, if I'm younger and then marry this person, if I go on this trip, if I get this car, whatever,
So in the dreaming phase, you're kind of throwing in some more detail, right? There's a little bit more, bit more fleshing in and painting out some of the scenery that would go with the wish. Right,
but there's still no action in it. There might be some action in it, but there's not an element of attainability in it.
Okay.
When you sit down and think of a vision, you think of something that you want to do that's realistic and attainable, and that's something that you have a plan for, to get to this vision. I want to lose weight in a year. I want to lose 50 pounds in a year. So you sit down and you have steps along the way, how you get through to this vision. For example, I want to be a doctor, so I've got to go to medical school for 6 years. So you sit down and you go over all those different steps. It basically gives you purpose, it gives you control, gives you reasons for long-range planning, gives you reasons for your short-range planning, and it basically gives you physical energy, emotional energy, and it's a more realistic way of living. People who don't have a vision, who just get up and they go to work, and they, they're not as happy. They don't live as long.
It's a routine, and you kind of rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We have goals, and goals are, it's good to have a goal. That's milestones along the way with our vision. And the other two words that I talk about here that I think are critical is when you hear somebody say that they're looking at their calling in life. That's when you really truly believe you've found what it is that you should be doing in life. What you're talented in, what you think you can contribute to society and to other people in life, and you're going to set your visions and your goals on that calling, and basically that's what you're going to do when you get up in the morning. That's what you're going to eat, breathe, and do for your life. So that's your calling. Same as mission too. I mean, that's basically where you're looking. My mission is to do this and accomplish. I'm going to build a hospital, in a foreign country. So that's my mission.
Yeah.
So it's going to take me 6 years to raise the funds, and 2 years to get the contractors out there, and 5 years to work with the people. So you have this mission and this plan. You bring your vision to it. You basically, your calling is to help people, and you set your goals for different days, and that's how that all works together. And it's certainly
so you're going from that the totally vague end of the spectrum of I wish, all the way to, and when you get to this sense of mission, this sense of calling, it sounds like a big part of it is that at that stage you're kind of being pulled forward instead of kind of being pushed from behind almost.
Exactly.
I hear you describe
well,
it.
Actually, you don't really need, at that point, you don't really need people to push you. When you're active,
right. You're attracted towards this vision of where you're getting to, and this sense of meaning in what you're doing.
Yeah, you'll probably need to have people slow you down, and you probably will push them out of the way, because I know people who are pretty much on the go, and they need to slow down, and that could be bad for you too. But but it's better to have that problem than to be sitting there saying, I wish I had $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't tend to manifest that way. So, well, let's talk about your next point, which is that this notion of having something bigger than yourself, something something larger than just I want $1 million because it would make me feel good.
Yeah. Well, when we look at life, a lot of people make plans. And I don't want to say sometimes we can get selfish or we can think of ourselves constantly, but if we look at just ourselves, and I've heard somebody use the term navel gazing, like staring at your own belly button. It's like, oh, what do I see? I don't see anything. When you narrow your focus and just look at the things that are within your own capacity and the things that you have the ability to do and you have the capacity to do, you really don't have that broad of a vision. You really don't have that many goals.
Sure.
Your goal might be, well, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to have a cup of coffee, and maybe I'll go to work, or maybe I won't, and I'll come home and watch some TV, and maybe I'll take the trash out, and and go to a movie, or I come home and go to sleep. But you kind of limit what you're doing. If you look at something bigger than yourself, if you have a goal. First of all, for me, looking beyond to a higher power, my belief in God is very important to me. And people have all different views of all different beliefs in their higher powers, and different things that they want to look at and think about. My belief in God forces me to read more scriptures. For example, those are something bigger than I am. Other people wrote them. Other people have studied them. It forces me to go. It doesn't force me, but because of that, I go to a church and I meet other people who have had bigger experiences than I have.
Right. It opens you to something larger, of course.
Right. If you want to become, let's say you want to become a doctor, well, you're not just going to say, okay, I'm going to go and work among sick people, and I'll figure this thing out, and we'll get this thing. And
I'll figure out how to remove that appendix eventually.
yeah. I mean, that's why they call it practice, right?
Exactly.
Eventually it'll be perfect. No, you go to school. You start with college. You go to, grad school. You go to medical school.
Right.
You learn.
Let you practice on cadavers that are, so that you don't kill them. Yes.
They don't say ouch when you're,
right.
the wrong way. But you learn from other people. You learn from other things other than yourself. I mean, even taking a vacation. Mm-hmm. We have some friends who they're retired, but even before they retired, they like to take vacations. Whenever they come see us, instead of, okay, let's get together and see how you're doing, it's like, no, we want to go somewhere. Get some touristy thing going. Let's go to Valley Forge Park. Let's go to Philly. Let's go to Doylestown. Let's go to, they're constantly out there experiencing different things, mm-hmm. learning, looking at things bigger than ourselves, looking at things bigger than who we are. That ties into education. If we keep educating ourselves, if we keep current on what's going on, every field that you hear about where they have professionals, of course, the medical field, you have to keep educated, real estate, insurance,
right,
auto mechanics today.
Continuing education, absolutely. It's required.
Yeah. Right. If you learn something, I mean, years ago it was like I graduated from high school, maybe I graduated from college. That's it. I'm going to go out and work now. Now it's a whole different ballgame. Mm-hmm. Now you have to constantly keep learning. Right. That's the way it is in everything, no mm-hmm. matter what it is you're doing. And to recognize that, I might be good in something, but there might be more that I could learn. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can contribute and someone else can learn from my experience, but there might be more that I can learn too. So to open yourself up to something bigger than yourself, higher than yourself, to educate yourself more, and sure. Yeah. Here, even as far as setting your goals and your visions. If your vision is not just for yourself, I want to make $1 million. It's like, no, I want to do something that's going to help 1,000 people build a hospital or be a doctor or build a railroad or build software or whatever it is that you want to do. If your intention is to work with something or do something that's going to be for the greater good, then your lifespan, what you your purpose in living, your just your whole comfort level and everything is much broader and more fulfilling than okay, I got my stuff and I'm doing this for me, and gee, am I happy now? You see the happiness you bring to other people, and that's part of that whole concept.
Yeah,
that's why you're not staring at yourself and doing the navel gazing, and
It's the difference between feeling fulfilled and feeling full of yourself, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Because if your world is small and enclosed and you're navel gazing, then you are literally full of yourself.
Yep.
As opposed to opening yourself to looking outward and expanding and acquiring more knowledge, doing things for the benefit of others. It's clearly much larger and much broader.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that probably is a decent segue to your third point, which is I think one of the things about being positive is that it allows you to do that. It allows you to open up to having reasons why you're doing what you're doing. So, but tell me a little bit more about what you mean by the importance of positivity.
Well, I'm going to go to like two different subjects, which is actually maybe 3 different chapters in the book here. What is addressed among 3 different chapters. First of all, you need to be positive, and when people hear me say this, they're going to say, "You're saying that, Mr. Negative." I think genetically I am negative, and with my environment, I'm not going to write a book of my life story, but if you heard some of the experiences I've gone through, you would say, how could you actually be so positive? If just recently I found out, by the way, through some counseling, here again, a higher power, something higher than me, reasons for the way I react to things and the way I encounter things in life. I've been affected from things that happened to me way in the past. Mm-hmm. So, that was very enlightening to me, and it's brought to my knowledge that I have to, in my quest to be positive, I have to work at things where something let's say, Mark, your boss calls you into a meeting and closes the door. Might not be a big thing for you. Or somebody like myself, it's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? The world's coming to an end. I'm going to get fired, and you know. So little
catastrophe
things,
is the you know.
Yeah, certain things, you know. So for me, I've got to work hard and say, okay, well, this is just normal business practice. You know, calm down. You know, it's not the end of the world. So in doing so, yes, for some of us, it's a little bit more hard work to be positive, but you know, this is something that pays off in the long run.
Right.
And part of being positive is hanging around positive people. And I mean, we've heard this so many times over and over again, but it's amazing. I am in situations, even this week, for example, I've been to networking groups. I've been to, can I mention names of organizations or?
If you wish.
I've been to competitions for Toastmasters, which I'm a member of one of the local chapters of that. I've been, you know, dealing with people, and it's amazing when I go to different networking groups and different entrepreneur groups and Toastmasters, I keep running into other people writing books, you know, and it's like I'm still, you know, I still got to work on mine. I still got to get mine out, and everyone else has got to. So I got a pile of everyone else's book here.
Right.
And it's like I got to get mine going, you know. Mm-hmm. So that kind of encourages me. I'm looking at that as a positive thing.
It's inspiration, right?
Yeah. Instead of, you know,
if they can do it, I can do it.
You know, it's like, hey, everyone else is doing so. You know, get going. You know. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing seeing the thinking. And that's where I met you and Chris at one of those meetings.
That's right.
Business accelerating meetings where, you know, you get people together who are thinking outside the box and who are thinking ways of communicating, ways of developing products and services. And another common thread is ways of helping other people. Not just out there, I'm going to make a buck by doing this, but, you know, what have I got that's a unique service or product that's going to help people? Just you guys doing this right here, you know, is a way of helping.
Well, and again, you're back to that looking for something larger than yourself, and the positivity, you know, is what attracts to doing that and to opening up
right.
and to, you know, figuring out that sense of vision and mission. So
yeah. So and on the other hand too, there have been circumstances this week where I've been hanging around negative people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who have just not been the most pleasant or made my life the most pleasant. Even today was an example of that. And you have to deal with that. With the positive people, you're encouraged by that. You feed off of that. You try to give back to that. You try to get in that environment. When you're with negative people, well, you could feed off of that. You could be influenced by that, and you could just get really frustrated where you want to.
It's very easy, right? I mean, they always seem to be around you, right?
Right. But, you know, you've got to learn to basically cocoon yourself around that, and I use that term as, you know, trying to insulate yourself from that. I mean, you know, and it's hard for me to do that. You know, I'm not the most patient person, but there's many different ways to address that. Now, you know, there's people who are sympathetic to your situation. You know, you may not be able to just, you know, in some circumstances, you can walk away from a negative person. We're not associated with a negative person.
Right.
If they're
not always though, right?
Or a boss or a business partner or somebody you deal with on a regular basis, a doctor that you don't want to change, you know, you've got to, you know, you've got to deal with them. The way I look at it is this: there's different ways that I handle it. And one way I look at it, I'm still kind of developing whether this is effective or not, is in some ways I feel like, well, you know, they're using me to get their goals done, you know, and it's like, you know what? I'm going to turn around. I'm using them to get things done for me. Now, the negative people are not always going to be there in my life. After a while, they're going to be gone. You're going to get rid of them somehow. But in the meantime, you've got a goal, you've got a vision. And where you are right now, there's a step that you have to take to get there. So this step, no matter whether it's a week or 2 years, you know, if it's a job or school or something that's a certain amount of time, you know, you're in this step, you're in this phase, If this person's giving you a hard time, you're just basically, they're there for your convenience. They're there for your growth.
Well, getting through that person may be one of your steps, right? I mean, is overcoming that negativity and not letting it drag you down. You can almost make the argument that you know, that it builds your strength. You know, it builds your commitment to the vision that you're trying to pursue. That if it were too easy, then we wouldn't feel it was quite so meaningful. You know, if everyone was just your cheerleader, then you might actually not even feel how valuable it is. Whereas when you're overcoming these obstacles, there's more value to it.
Yeah, and sometimes it you know, it requires some restraint. You know, and you know, which is maturity and professionalism. Sometimes that restraint is confused with enabling a person to participate in their bad behavior, and then we have to have a confrontation and talk about, you know, about boundaries. But you know, here again, that's part of the learning process, and eventually that person is out of there.
I hear you.
So anyway, you know, positive people. The more you hang around positive people, the more positive you can be. The more you can contribute and think on a positive level. Positive people attract other people.
Right. Well, let's face it. Positive people are attractive. You know, I mean, we're attracted to that positivity. You know, hopefully much more so than the negativity.
Yeah. So, I like sitting and listening to somebody who's very happy and positive and has something, you know, bright to say and has
inspiring,
something,
right? It's inspiration.
Yeah. I can sit there and listen to that all day long, you know. Right. Instead, I listen to somebody else, you know. But you know. Yeah. Well,
unfortunately, there is that too, right? The airwaves are full of negativity as well. And you have to watch what you're tuning into, because you. As somebody once said to me, you are what you eat, and that includes the media that you consume. Yeah. So you got to be careful what you consume, because it does influence you. So
it's a funny thing you brought that up, because that's another thing I talk about too, is what we listen to, what we watch on TV, what we read on the internet. You know,
it's what we consume, right?
Yeah. It affects our head. We are in information overload right now. I believe we as a nation are teaching ourselves ADD.
That's very true.
It's crazy. It's just so much coming at us. We have a harder time, more than any other generation, of putting the brakes on the stuff coming at us. I mean, we used to be able to seek out.
Well, hold that thought. I got to tweet this out. I got to answer this text, and I got to check my Facebook right now while you're talking. All right. So you don't mind if I kind of multitask here, right? You know?
Yeah, see, that seems to be the norm. When it's funny, because whenever I give a presentation lately, or I see someone give a presentation, years ago, 10 years ago, when I started giving presentations, I used to say to people, I say, you know what, turn off your cell phones, because if your cell phone goes off while I'm talking, here's the deal. I get to talk to that person. So one time that happened, I actually talked to them. Hello, yes. Well, Joe can't come to the phone right now because he's listening to a speaker. Who is it? It's me. So, but now the norm is, and I was getting frustrated for a while, because the people are like, they have their head down, and
they're all looking at their little screens. You know,
the norm is everyone's texting and everyone's checking email, and I find myself doing it. I got to stop. You know, it is
addictive.
Yeah, and you've got to adapt to this, and you know, it's weird to see people who do speaking engagements and people who present information. They've got to adapt to this, and it's a shame.
They do. They got to deal with it. Yeah.
As a society, have adapted to that. We're doing 2 or 3 things at the same time.
Yep. It's. I think you're right. We are definitely training ourselves to have a taste of ADD. Well, I'm looking forward to this book. It sounds interesting. So we've been talking with Will Shermer about changing life's directions and kind of getting ready for the journey. And just to recap, we've been focusing on 3 things here. We've been talking about the importance of having a vision for your life and not just wishing. We've been talking about really tapping into something bigger than yourself and the impact that has on you. And then really using positive energy, being attracted to positive people, getting that positivity to move you forward, and being careful about surrounding yourself with negative people who can drag you down. So, Will, I hope you don't mind. I'll tell people how to get in touch with you and really be ready for the book, which is not quite released yet, but it's coming soon. So you want to look for this book. It's coming towards the end of the year. We're going to put your information up on screen here, Will. So you can get in touch with Will by email, will@willshermer.com. And the website is under construction right now, but there's parts of it there. So, in June of 2015, it should be all up and ready and rocking and rolling. And that's at willshermer.com, right?
Yep.
Fingers crossed, right? So get connected to Will. His book is coming out. I'm sure he'll be willing to connect with you if you send him an email, and get on his list. He'll notify you when the book is released, right?
Yep. Definitely. Right. I'd like to keep a dialogue going with people, until it does come out. I'm going to look for ways to incorporate blogs into it somehow, and in the pre-release of the book.
Excellent.
And even afterwards too.
Sounds like a plan.
I'd like to keep in contact with the community that is interested in what I've got to offer and what I've got to encourage.
Absolutely. So there you have it. Get in touch with Will Shermer. Get connected with him. Will, it's been great having you as our guest today on Expert Showcase. So I look forward to your book launch.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's been fun.
And another great Expert Showcase episode. Chris, what should people do right now?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you're a coach or consultant, imagine what it would do for you and your business if you were a guest on Experts Showcase. And here's the best part. Other than possibly increasing your business, an appearance on Experts Showcase is free. We give you a copy of your episode so you can use as marketing collateral, and we give you a coaching session to go along with it to tell you how you can best market your episode and other tips and tricks about your business. So what you want to do is head on over to expertshowcase.com, click on the big yellow apply button, and apply to be our next featured guest on the Expert Showcase. Now, if you're a coach or consultant and you've already imagined what having your own internet talk show will do for you, then we want you to head to VideoContent.Agency and check us out, check our packages out, and get in contact with us. Let's see if we're a good fit, and let's see if we're the ones to produce you and make you the next star and have your own internet talk show. And until next time, Mark, anything else?
I couldn't have said it any better, so just do what he said.